Okay, this is a quick little video to kind of look at, the basic idea is to find the solution, the place where the graphs intersect. But sometimes what happens is when we go to look at the graph, our window doesn't meet the requirements that we need. It doesn't show us what we're looking for. So what I want to take a look at is just kind of give you an overview of ways that you can mess around with your window a bit to kind of make sure you're getting all the solutions you need. So start us off. We got our equations plugged in. Okay, so the equations are plugged in. We always go, we always go zoom number 6. So I get this graph right here, and I'm like, wow, this is this really doesn't fit very well. And so one basic way, you can always zoom out. But one basic strategy I like to present to you would be is, most of your data values are going to happen between -10 and +10. Remember, so if we look at our window right now we're looking at -10 on the left, going by ones, all the way over to +10. And then the y min is -10, the y max is +10, so that's -10 on the bottom, +10 on top. So let's take a look at that one more time. So once again, that's -10 over here, +10 over here, and you're going by 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Going up's the same thing, over to the left the same thing, and down the same thing. And so here I am, I'm looking at this, and I know there's got to be more to this graph. And I know that I have a cubic function. If I think about what I have right here, I have f of x, basically, and I don't know basically how it's going to look necessarily, but I know it's looks something like this because it has a positive slope and it has a y-intercept at +4. So I know it's going to pass through at +4 right there. Okay, I have a cubic function, and I remember based upon my end behavior of cubic functions, I know that a cubic function basically comes up, turns the corner, comes down, and then goes back up. So I'm thinking that if I look at this graph, it probably means I'm going to cross my linear function 3 times. That's what I'm thinking. So I started looking at this thing and I'm like, well, it's not really showing much to me. So a couple options. One option would be to go to zoom and to go ahead and go to zoom out, which is number 3. And that would work, so let's just take a look at that and see what happens. So let's choose number 3. Okay, when you zoom out, remember you got to choose your starting point. So I'm centering at the middle, so I hit enter to start it. And see, that's pretty good, but the problem is that my x-axis also zooms out. And my x's aren't changing. It's my y values that are bigger. It's like because of these big numbers like 13 times, or because of the cube, when I take 3 and I cube it, I get 9. And then I take 2 and I cube it, and I get, 27. And then 2 and I cube it, and I get, or 3 and I cube it, and I get 9. I've got a pretty big number right here. So what would probably be better is if I went back to my standard window. Oops. So zoom 6. Go back to your standard window. One more time. Zoom and 6. Okay, what would probably be better would be go to your window key. So go ahead and hit your window key and leave your x values the same. Don't change those. Instead, go down to your y's and let's make that -100. And let's go down to the y max and let's make that 100. And then remember, for your scale, you basically take your biggest y value. So in this case here, our biggest y is 100 or -100. And you divide that by 10. This is just the standard rule. So 100 divided by 10 is equal to 10. And that's 10 there, which is -10, but you get the idea. So my scale means that I'll go by tens. And if I do it that way, then it normally will fit pretty well, so I can still kind of see what's going on. Once you have that set up, go ahead and choose graph. So now what's happened is that if you look at this, instead of going like this right here is +100 and this right here is -100. And over here is still -10 and over here is still +10 according to your window you set. So now this means that that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So by dividing by 10, it still gives you that nice image. So at this point, what we want to do is we want to evaluate what we're essentially looking at in this graph. And what I mean by that is I'm looking at this graph and I feel like I have two regions that I need to look at or to further, kind of research. And that is this location down here, which I know I have an intersection. I can see it. And then I have this intersection up here, which I can't really tell whether there's one intersection or two intersections. So my strategy I would tell you is go ahead and do the intersection that you can see real clearly. So we'll go ahead and hit second, trace. We'll choose number 5. Okay, we hit first curve, got it. Second curve, got it. And now move your cursor down to your guess. Okay, a little bit more. And that's pretty darn close. I'll press enter. So they told me, let me erase a little bit right here. They told me that my intersection for that guy occurs at -5, -61. That is one of my solutions. That is one of the places that will make both of these equations true. All right, so my other one is up here. I know at least one. And I really can't tell. So, we have the window key. We explored how to use the window key to kind of see some stuff. But we also have the zoom key. So why don't we go ahead and check out the zoom and zoom in number 2. Okay, so remember when you use the zoom feature, you go ahead and you move your cursor to the middle of where you want to zoom into. Got a little button happy there. Alright, let me get back on track here. I'll move myself over here and start moving up a little bit. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to go to this middle location right here. Alright, so I'm pretty much right there in the middle of where I want to zoom in. So what I'll do is at that point, I'll go ahead and press enter. And now that'll engage my zoom in feature. And so once it zooms in, what I can see here is I can see clearly that I come across right here, like my parabola comes across the linear function and crosses. So I have an intersection about right there. It comes on the other side and then it crosses back over. So I have a second intersection about right there. So one option would be is to go ahead and zoom in again if you feel necessary. We should be able to at this point go ahead and say second, trace, number 5, and go ahead and we got first curve, second curve, and then now they're looking for the guess. So I move myself down to this intersection first. So I feel like it's about right there where they cross. I press enter and it tells me that sure enough I have an intersection at 1, 17. So that's another solution. That's another ordered pair that will make both of these equations true. All right, let's go ahead and do the next one. So I say second, trace. I'm looking for my intersection, right? I go to number 5, first curve, second curve. Now I move myself to the guess. A little bit more. And I'd say right there is probably, as close as I'm going to get. So I press enter. And it spits out for me one more intersection. It tells me that I also cross at 2, 30. So I have 3 solutions to this system, 3 places where these two functions intersect, and therefore three ordered pairs that will make my system true, that will make both of these equations equal. All right, so solving a system of equations, a more advanced example to kind of look at how we can use our zoom feature, how we can change our window a little bit, and it's really just a matter of becoming familiar with the calculator and familiar with these 5 keys across the top.